Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Well, I was just talking to somebody today and realized that probably over 100, at least 100 episodes, a couple hundred episodes. We started in January 2017. And the second guest on our show is technically our co-host, or actually he's a roving co-host. He's on 90% of the shows. His name is Mr. Alex Grossman. Alex, are you there?
I'm here, Peter.
Wow.
I'm roving, but I'm here.
And you're missing an earphone, huh? All right, so
I am.
So each week we have a show called the Ask Brien Radio Show. We've been doing this now for over 8 years. And what we try to do every single episode is try to teach something to people about business. Now, we can have an owner who created something and like, hey, I started this thing and it became successful. I scaled it. I made it successful. We have that type of a business owner or business person. Then we'll have another time where we'll have somebody that specializes in, I can specialize in social media or public relations or legal or inventory control or accounting, something that was going to help you in your business. And that's what we do each week. And when I was saying wasn't 100 episodes, it was over 100 months, because we did start in January 2017. But without any further ado, we have our expert, Mr. Alex Grossman, who's going to try to explain to people why Brien is spelled E-B-R-I-E-N, because Alex says, listen, I've been to Ireland a couple of times, and yeah, there's a lot of O'Briens in the O'Brien pub, and I know a lot of people named O'Brien with an E. But when I went to school back in the 1900s, and he took his carriage to work every day, everybody there was spelling Brien B-R-Y-N or B-R-I-N. Nobody was spelling B-R-I-E-N. So Alex has decided, since he's one of the early people in the show, he's going to try to explain to people why Brien is spelled with an E. So, Alex, what's the first reason why the show is spelled with an E? Brien, B-R-I-E-N.
Well, it's usually the irrational host, but we'll start with the E's.
But irrational is with an I. Unless you have Generation Z.
It's respect of the engineer.
I thought you were using the word irrational because you're Generation Z and you only use spell check, and maybe you spelled irrational with an E. Irrational.
Well, it's an error spelled with an E, so irrational. Come on, let's be honest. Yeah. It's a Gen Z thing.
Well, Alex, that's a good one. Really? And obviously we couldn't do the show without the engineer, but what other reasons why do we spell Brien with an E?
Well, I think that the E stands for education, which is one of the keys of the Ask Brien radio program.
What is education?
100%.
Is that like, I go down to the local school and I learn something about, some cultural thing? Is that the kind of education I'm learning?
Well, it's education and you're teaching people to spell with an E.
Well, so we're kind of like Sesame Street.
Huh. I would say you're a little like Big Bird. Yeah, you're right.
Well, it's better than you, who looks like Ernie, but yeah, all right. Another E.
Well, Bird spelled
Ernie.
with an E, and Ernie spelled with an E, so we're good. But I think really what mostly people understand is the empathy that you have for people. You just really get that.
Speaking English, what does that mean, empathy? I never heard of the word before.
Well,
is that like narcissist?
Well, narcissist, yeah, it's very similar. It's the amount of entertainment that you get and the enjoyment you give people. And also, I think there's another word, but if I say it, I feel I'll need the other E, which is eardrum replacement. So, what does that other E stand for?
Well, there's two E's, so you give one and I'll give the other.
Well, no, I can't do it. I just can't. My ear won't allow me to do it. Jen, you know what I'm talking about there?
I've got you.
Say it?
Well, I'm not going to encourage any of Peter's antics. You should know that by now.
Well, listen. All right, so I'll do it then. Obviously, nobody else is willing to. All right, so first of all, you need to have a lot of what?
Do you not have the energy for this today?
Energy? No, it's enthusiasm! And that's because I'm so excited to be here.
God.
Aren't you excited? Don't you get pumped up like that Rocky? Pump you up, man.
Yes, it is.
Arnold, pump you up.
I do wonder though what you put in your lunchtime tea.
My Long Island iced tea.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm from Long Island. I drink an iced tea.
It's 5:00 somewhere.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Another E. Exactly. Don't encourage me. Another E.
No. I know.
Who's got a big ego? All right.
Yeah, we don't mention that one.
But the one thing that we do want to have before we get started, the last one is, Alex, what is an expert, and how do what's the qualifications to become an expert?
Well, an expert is actually an E, and the qualifications are usually someone who knows what they're talking about and has spent a number of years and a number of hours, and you're going to give us that number, of learning their trade and their particular excellence in doing what they do. And how many days and hours and months does that take for an entrepreneur, which is another E?
Well, an entrepreneur, it's half the time, right? But it's just
Right.
big E. But obviously, we determine that the average person needs to spend 5 years doing something before they become an expert. And so when you calculate that out, okay, you calculate it out if you work 40 hours a week, okay, and 50
Hold on, I'm out of figures already. 40 hours, go for it.
40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year. 50 weeks a year, that's 2,000 hours, times 5 is 10,000. So it's 10,000 hours. Entrepreneurs probably get that done in 2, maybe 2.5 years. Why? Because they have to work so many hours to get that done. So, anyway.
80 hours a week, 53 weeks
Well,
a year.
Alex, hold on. On your job now, what? You're working 3 hours a week, right? So it's going to take you,
Absolutely.
200 years. You'll be an expert in race-ready products.
Exactly.
All right. So unless we've lost him, is our guest still there? Vic?
Yes, sir. Peter, how are you?
All right. Well, you survived the first phase. First phase is, will you put up with all that stuff that we were talking about? And you did. So can you give him a little clap for that?
Oh, yes. Sorry. There we go. Yes. I'm pushing other buttons here.
Push other people's
He is
buttons.
in a real mood.
Just don't push our
He is
buttons.
definitely
He
in a real mood
survived.
today.
Yes.
All right, Victor. All right. So first of all, people don't know who you are. But before we get into that, we want to know a little bit about, well, you can tell about your company and stuff. But before we get there, we want to know your background. Okay. When did you start working in business? What business was that? And give us a little background to get up to speed to where you are today in the business you're currently in.
That's perfect. Thank you, Peter, Alex, for invitation. Yes, it's going to be a long background because I've been a lot in business, but I'll make it short. I started early on in the corporate world, Procter & Gamble and S.C. Johnson, and developed myself as a marketeer. And then I started my own business in Venezuela with partners, doing a new venture, creating industrial distribution of mining and construction equipment, with Komatsu being a huge, important brand that we represented in Venezuela. And we grew the company from about 30 people to 700 people in a period of 20 years. And everything was going fantastic. And then the political situation got in the way. I lost most of my assets and everything I'd done for 20 some years. And I'm very happy that I did. I'm very thankful to have been received in the U.S. I immigrated to the U.S. with an investor visa in Miami. I'm based in Miami, so I needed to reinvent myself. And my entrepreneurial spirit, I was finding something very unique to dedicate my time on. And so I was trying. I was in a restaurant. Somebody offered me a pizza. But it was very unique. Then I tried, and so I said, "Wow, this is very, very good pizza." But it's very, very different. And so it had the crust of the pizza was made out of cassava yuca, which is a super root from Central and Latin America, and also in Africa. I was astonished by the quality and the crunchiness of the product. I said, "Wow, this can be a good business." So I talked to the to the person making that created that pizza. I said, "Why don't we develop this as a company and a brand so we can make this available in the U.S. and to improve the diets of American families because it was a very healthy product. And the most significant thing was that it was one single ingredient crust. That's very unique. Cassava gives you the opportunity to, with only one ingredient, cassava, you can make a fantastic, healthy, crunchy pizza. So in last year, I decided to dedicate myself and co-founded this company called Yukan Foods. We created Yukan Pizza, the first ever one ingredient crust, 100% handcrafted with cassava. And it has received excellent acceptance. Kids, families, Americans, Italians, Argentinians, everybody has fallen in love with the pizza. So we're very thankful and very happy.
So, what does this mean? I just eat pizza. I don't know much about it. So, what is this one ingredient? I thought you have to like flour and oil and water and something to make the crust. To make the pizza dough, right? I mean, because how do you make dough with just one ingredient? What is that ingredient? Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. That's the magic of the project because, as you say, at least you need water, salt, and flour and some other ingredients. The nature of the cassava, which is a superroot, it's a starchy, gluten-free, natural starchy, gluten-free. So when you use the cassava and you press it and you get most of the water out, you get a kind of a a mixture that's a little moisture. Then you put it on a skillet and like a pancake, and it binds together. So you don't need to add anything to it. So you have just using the raw cassava, you press it, and you do some processes to it, but not adding any oils or any flour or anything like that. The cassava itself, and it creates a very crunchy. And by the way, that method is not an invention. It's a method used by the Indians in the Amazon that recently, in December 2024, received the recognition by UNESCO as a material asset of humanity because it hasn't changed for 22,500 years. And we use that base to make a pizza, and I think that's the uniqueness of it. If you see the pizzas, for example, cauliflower, they need 14 ingredients. They need something to bind the cauliflower together to kind of avoid the aftertaste of the cauliflower. So there are a lot of things that you need to do. In our case, it's just one ingredient.
So this cassava, is it a plant or a tree or does it grow out of the ground?
No, it is a super root. It's similar to a kind of potato. Potato, it's well known by everybody.
So it grows in the ground, in the dirt?
No, it's long. It's a long super root. It grows very, very, very easily. You plant it, and it grows very, very rapidly, and it has great properties. A lot of vitamin C, vitamin D, magnesium, very low glycemic index. It also it has a long chain of carbohydrates, so it's a slow release. So it has a lot of very, very important properties. So they consider it to be a super root.
And you just buy this like from your restaurant supplier company sells it, or where do you get that cassava? I mean,
you can. Right now, there's mostly on Latin supermarkets. It's well known, like from Central America and Latin America. But more and more Americans are learning about cassava. I just had a conversation with somebody that launched a very healthy line of cereal made out of cassava to substitute all the artificial ingredients and colors and everything like that. And he's from Minneapolis, and he learned about the benefits of cassava. And also different brands are coming out. Siete is a very famous brand right now that was bought by Pepsi, and they use cassava. But you can buy raw. I mean, you can buy raw cassava and just boil it. You can make cassava fries, like French fries. You can have cassava sticks, and you can eat it as a potato. And it's very, very, very good.
So this is kind of hard to do on the radio, but what does it taste like?
Well, that's another beautiful benefit. It's very neutral, like a potato. Doesn't have like a strong flavor. It is. It's as you say, it's not very easy to explain, but it's kind of not. I wouldn't say it's sweet, but it's a kind of a. It's not sweet. It's not salty. It's kind of a mild flavor that what you enjoy is the texture of it, but it's not invasive. So they use it a lot of as a side. When in Latin America they use it as a side with other things because it blends well with everything. And that was the beauty for the pizza because it's not invasive, so you don't have to hide the flavor of it. So on the contrary, it adds a uniqueness and very special feature to a pizza because it's the crunchiness without invasive flavor.
So my question is, as a business person, why can't, and you worked at Procter & Gamble and S.C. Johnson and all that, why can't a new company, Domino's, Pizza Hut, somebody just come in there and just say, you know what, hey, it's selling pretty well, we don't want to lose any more market share, we're just going to come up with our own, and we got all the money, so we're just going to, take over.
Yeah, that's obviously you're a businessman, or you've been around so many businessmen. That's actually one of the real challenges is how you speed up and you create the brand, establish yourself as a brand before a huge company decides to do the same. There is a lot of trade secrets that eventually, like Coke, the special secrets. My partner lived with the Indians for 15 years, and he learned all of the secrets with the Amazon Indians, going back and forth. He didn't stay there for 15 years. He was going back and forth. So there are some special methods that we use, and the sauce, how we use the sauce to make it crunchy and not saggy. So somebody eventually will get it, but we are speeding up. Because of that, we're raising capital right now to speed up our go-to market and establish a brand. As for example, Cauliflower did the same. Cauliflower, they do cauliflower, and they established a brand. They are the leading brand, and the bigger companies either created their own brand or they private label the brand, but they continue to be leading. So the market is huge, and new competitors can come in. The idea is to take advantage of the first mover advantage that we have, and do it quickly and do it well. Then if the competition will follow.
So we only have a minute left. I don't know if you'll be able to answer the question. You had a conversation with me yesterday, and you mentioned something about Domino's. What was the deal with that?
Well, in the past, in Venezuela, they wanted to have a gluten-free pizza. And my partner, he developed the base, and they offered pizza as a gluten-free pizza in Domino's in Venezuela. I was very successful. The fact that also Venezuelans knew very much about the pizza, the cassava, the yuca, so it was natural for them, and it was a very successful. But because of the political situation, he also moved to Miami, so all of the knowledge and all the understanding of how to make it, he brought it with him here, so to the U.S. But it was a very successful venture with them.
We only have 10 seconds, so when we come back, I want you to explain a little bit more on this Domino's thing. I mean, if Domino's, a huge company like that, has already seen the cost of a plant and product, why can't they just go off and do it on their own? And why haven't they? But for that, you're going to have to listen, because we're taking a quick break. You listen to the Ask Brien radio show on KHS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHS 1220 and 98.1 FM. We have had a very good, interesting conversation with Victor. And we have Alex, my co-host, say, Peter, how come I can't ask any questions? What am I doing on the show? Alex, you're on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peter. So, Victor, we were talking a little bit on the break and just a little bit about the business itself, and I want to dive into that if I can. So, you've got kind of a specialized product. I know you guys are located in Miami, and you're it sounds fantastic. You made me a little hungry there. I'm ready for lunchtime show, and crispy pizza is just about the best. But, you have to face some challenges in getting out there and marketing it. It's so, the food industry is so filled with large companies, as Peter said before, a lot of people. It's hard to get headspace in there. What have you done to be able to get visibility? Because obviously you mentioned raising money, and you have to have visibility in order to do that, right? People ask those questions. So what challenges did you face in getting that going?
Yes, thank you, Alex. Great question. That's a challenge. How you get visibility? But the first thing is to validate that what the value proposition that we have is well received in the market. And that's what we have done. But before raising more money, we wanted to make sure that first of all, the promise of one single ingredient crust with something that's crunchy and people trying it and seeing the price and the taste of it, that was well received, and that's what we have done first. Now that we are very confident, we're here in Chicago. People in a show, everybody from California, to East Coast, South Florida, have tasted the product, and that was a acid test for us because it was natural for Latin Americans. But this is a product for American families. It's not for Latin Americans, it's American families. So one of the challenges is, yes, how do you make somebody know that cassava is a good ingredient for a crust? And also they have to try. We know for a fact, and we have seen that when they try, they like it very much. But the challenge is how do they try it? So one of the things we learn that is emphasizes the one ingredient crust, regardless of what the ingredient is, that catches the attention. And then, talk about cassava when people realize that it's a catch catches the attention. Talk about the benefits of the cassava. So the capital funding is basically to do marketing and let people know about the new concept and also learn and try the product. But it has been well received with the buyers and the trade, and they see, wow, this is very unique. It's trendy, gluten-free, grain-free, allergen-free, clean label. So it checks all the marks. So we are very happy about that. But still, we have that challenge. How do we make it known? And we are thinking about, trying to relate to an influencer with the credibility that will like the product and will make it well known to their followers.
Well, the first great step is getting on Ask Brien. I mean, obviously, you're in Southern California, where not our primary audience, where a lot of people are very conscious of their health and probably know what cassava is. I mean, I knew what it was because it's very good from a diabetic standpoint, low glycemic and that. So it has a lot of value as far as health goes. But getting it out there and getting people to realize it, you are going against some big chains in that. So what does your distribution plan look like? Have you researched that and said, here's what we think we're going to do, and here's the plan we're looking for? Or are you just looking for someone to come up and say, hey, I've got a great distribution channel and I'm going to take it out for you? What did you do there?
Yeah, first of all, select the geography where we feel that it will be more attractive. The target group will be certainly California, Texas, Florida, and New York. Also because they are more health conscious and they're looking for new products. So we are looking for distributors, specialized distributors that service retailers that are health-oriented, independent, with a certain level, like 10, 20, 50 stores to start with. So we get the word out, people try the product. So we are going with the specialized distributors. We have one in Texas, and we are in the central market, part of HEB, and they look at the product and say, well, this is what we're looking for. And that's the kind of reaction we have gotten from distributors, that they were looking for novel products that are healthy, but at the same time delicious. And when they try, they say, well, this is something that we feel it will work with our customers.
Yeah, it's very interesting. One more question for you on that, and it's just maybe it's two-part here, but obviously being a single ingredient crust, that has an advantage from supply chain, I would assume, because I know that product is very in South America, Central America, it's a very big product, so that makes it easy. But the other question is, why did you go with full pizza and not just selling crust? Is it a profitable business if you just go with the simple single ingredient? Is it easy to prepare and that, or did you have a strategy around that?
Yes, the important thing is that part of our secret sauce is how you blend a natural tomato sauce with no chemicals or no additives with the crust, so it stays crunchy. If you don't do it right, and you use if you don't do the tomato sauce and the toppings in the right way, you might get something that's not as crunchy as delicious. So we decided to go with the whole pizza, and eventually, when people learn how to use the crust, we'll be offering the crust together with the sauce, because it's a combination. Otherwise, it will get soggy. When you put it in the oven, the water in the sauce, and we were able to extract some of the water on the sauce, so to make it work. And but eventually, this is part of the strategy to offer the crust by itself. I was not the first doing it the first time. Just the crust, it will probably ruin the concept. I say, well, it doesn't come crunchy, it doesn't work. So we didn't want to run that risk.
Fantastic. Typical entrepreneur, have to know your business, understand it, and know the market and how it works. So that's great to hear. Sure, I'll turn it back over to you. I'm sure you got a lot of questions before we go to break here.
So we only have about 45 seconds left, but the question is, so is this product sold in the frozen section or in the regular section? Because I'm a little confused.
On the frozen section, not because of the crust. The crust, it could last shelf stable for over a year without any protection. The thing is that for the cheese and all the toppings, you have to have it frozen if you don't have to have additives. So we don't have any additives or any chemicals. So it's on the frozen section.
So we only have 10 seconds. How do you keep it crunchy if it's going in the microwave?
No, the microwave, it would not generate the crunchiness that's typical of the product. You either put it a traditional way in the oven, but also a very unique way. You put it on a pan and you heat it on the bottom, like a pancake. It gets very crunchy, and you put a lid on top, and it melts the cheese. So that's very unique and very convenient.
Well, sounds great. We got to take a break. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KH 1220 and 98.1 FM. And no word from our sponsor, Legal Steps.
And we want to say thank you to Legal Steps. It's spelled LEGALSTEPZ. That's with a Z.com. Listening to everyone talk with Victor about his plight to, take that leap and start his own business. And a lot of it is trial and error. Even just listening to them talk about how to actually make the pizza. You have to, I'm sure there's some cute phrase, but basically try it and throw it in the trash. If it didn't work, try it again, throw it in the trash. And I think a lot of that is with any entrepreneurial effort. You're just kind of throwing things out there, seeing what works, and then obviously learning from those mistakes. And you've got this great idea. Maybe you don't want to start your own, pizza company or your own restaurant or retail business, whatever it is that you've had your eye on for however long. Now is the time to do that with the help of legalsteps.com. You can register in a course to register a trademark, form an LLC, form an S corporation. And when you're in these different courses, you're kind of like following along with your expert, with your legal expert who has over 30 years experience. And you can see what they're looking at. So as you're in the course, you're answering your questions and you're making sure that, hey, I'm doing this right. This is great. The expert said that I'm doing this right, then you're in a good space. And really, if you get to the point where it's kind of confusing, because I at least think that sometimes the legalese can be a little confusing. You get to the point, I mean, we're not all experts like you, Peter. But you're stuck, you're frustrated. Don't be. Just have the experts at Legal Steps do it for you. It's really, you've got no way to lose in this situation. The courses are all under $150 each. So again, not that much money considering you've always had this great idea and you want to move forward with it. $150 course. And in those courses, again, you can pause it, rewind it, take notes. I really liked it because I was able to print out like a little worksheet and I had my highlighter and I was scribbling and taking notes. And so it was really just an easy experience overall. I think the course that I took was probably a little less than 2 hours. I was able to knock it out on a Saturday morning and at my own home. I didn't have to worry about working off of someone else's, schedule and calendar and that kind of thing. Everybody has their own lives and trying to keep up with the day-to-day. So legalsteps.com makes that easy for you. Again, check out legalsteps, legalstepz.com.
Well, thank you, Jen, and
You're
thank
welcome.
you to Legal Steps.
You got it.
All right. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Like no other station in the world. Woo-hoo. We are like no other station in the world. All right.
So, Peter, I had one question for Victor I want to throw out there if I could.
Alex, come on. You're the co-host. You can answer any questions you
want. Well, you know how those business questions just pop up your head and you go, I'm looking at this business and looking at both sides of it and saying, well, look, it's starting at the bottom. This could go anywhere. And I have to ask Victor, why did you choose just to go with pizza? I did a little research on cassava while we're on the break hearing from the great people at Legal Steps, and I saw there's a number of products out there from strips to chips to other products around it. And I'm wondering why you limited yourself to pizza and didn't become the experts in cassava, bringing that to the U.S. So what was the rationale around that, Victor?
Well, you're obviously a visionary. We have as a project we create a category of cassava-based products. We felt that pizza was the right entry point for American families. 98% of Americans eat pizza on a regular basis. So it's.
I'd say 110%. Yeah, I'd say more than 98. Maybe 200%. What do you think?
Well, by the way, I have sent two guys to a friend Yukan pizza, so you can try on next episode. Sometimes you let me know what you feel. But going back to your questions, yes, pizza. It's known by every single American. The American families love it. So we thought it was the best strategy is for people to see, wow, this tastes good. What is this? Cassava. Let me learn about cassava. When you establish the brand, then you can introduce the other product that we have developed already versus trying to sell a product based out of cassava that is not so well known and trying to sell 7 or 8 different products, which are not as known as the pizza. So we felt that was the best strategy, to go with one product. It's well known all over the U.S., make it work, create the brand, and then we follow with all of the other products that we have down the line.
Well,
very valid strategy. Thank you.
Alex wants to have, he said veal parmesan should be next because that's what he likes to eat. Anyway.
Cassava parmesan? I'm not sure we're going to do that yet.
Without the breadcrumbs, we'll make it out of cassava.
By the way, what we have, one of the products we have is the crumbs out of cassava, and they make the veal gluten-free. It's very, very crunchy and substitutes the crumb breads, the breadcrumbs. Mm. So that's one of the best products that we have. It is very, very crunchy, and it's very healthy when use it. So that's coming on down the road.
Alex, don't mess with Brien. All right, so. All right, so.
For sure.
I think this has been asked in a different way, but I just want to ask, what is your biggest challenge?
Okay, the biggest challenge I would say it's to get people, in a very effective and efficient financial way, get people to get to know and try the product. Because once they try, we know that it has had great acceptance. So trial and awareness. That's the biggest challenge that we have, because the word of mouth it will work very, very well. So that's one, and the other one, obviously nowadays with all of the imports, the scaling of the cassava crust. That's from an operational standpoint, the scaling of the cassava crust. But we have been working with an expert engineer how to make it more efficient, the production of the cassava crust in a more maintaining the single ingredients and not adding any process to the product. And that will be the second biggest challenge that we have.
So we only have about 20 seconds before our next break. But so what if I don't know you and I wanted to get a piece of this pizza and I'm living in California? What are my options? Any? I know you, but nobody else can.
Yeah.
Jen is saying, "Where's my pizza?" For kids too.
No, there are two. One of the things that we need to do for that is to have a co-pack facility in California. One of the biggest challenge, and also is another challenge, is since it's frozen, shipping frozen products from from the East Coast to the West Coast is very, very expensive, and it has to get there in 2 days or 3 days because we send it with dry ice. And if it gets longer than 2 or 3 days, the sauce begins to act on the crust before it gets in the oven, so it doesn't get as crunchy. So that's a challenge. So we sell it online, and in 2 days on the East Coast, you can buy it and you can get it at home. California, as a matter of fact, we have somebody that's asking us to send it to California. It has to be overnight or 2 days. Second day air, it costs $100 to send 5 packs of pizza. So it makes it very, very expensive.
You better like the pizza for that price.
To set up an operation so we can co-manufacture in California and have the distribution in California.
Wow. We got to take a quick break. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. So, Victor, how can people connect with you or reach you or just, if they've got questions or want more information, how can they connect to you?
Yes, I'll share with you our webpage. It will be easier to spell than my last name. It's very complicated. So actually, the brand is Yukan, Yukan. Our webpage is yukanfoods.com. And the name relates to the yuca on one place because of the root, the name of the root in Latin America, yuca. And you can because we feel that you can have a pizza, you can enjoy it, you can trust it, and you can feel good having this pizza. So, and everybody can have it. It's a very inclusive, kids, all, different dietary conditions and everything like that. So yukanfoods.com. And from there, you can send us at our info email, and we get back to you.
And you're going to announce on your website when you're coming to California and other locations?
Yes, you have there where to buy, and eventually we'll be expanding into the U.S. and then they will be there. Where are we located? In which geographies are we located?
So we started the show with this. I want to quickly go over it again. So one of the things is this this product is gluten-free, correct?
Yes.
And then it has a low glycemic index, correct?
Yes.
And it's good for certain conditions we discussed, health conditions, such as celiac, which is for gluten, and IBS and other things. I don't want to get into a health show here, but the other areas. And is it low calorie or just average calorie for pizza or what?
It's very low calorie. It's, normal pizza is over 1,000 calories for the whole pizza, 10-inch. And this is between, depending on the toppings, it could be between 500 and 700 calories.
So what makes the calories
pizza.
reduced?
Excuse me?
Why are the calories reduced from 1,000 to 500 in your pizza? Is it the cassava plant? Is that what makes the calorie lower?
Well, first of all, we don't add in. It's very low in sugar. The carbohydrates is very thin crust, so the crust is very light. So you don't have that many calories on the crust, and we don't add any other product that's not natural that will add calories to it. So that's the main reason is the crust, the light crust, and the level of calories that you can find in Yukan compared to other crust.
So here's going to be a tough question. Hopefully not too hard on you, but this is a frozen food, right? You've got to have something in there to keep it, from going bad, right? So what is
preservatives, they call that.
Yeah, are you adding anything to it? I mean,
yes, a good question. We have no preservative, no chemical added, no sugar added, no soy, no flour, no eggs, nothing. So we blast freezing. That's a new technology. You blast freeze and you put a shock of a cold shock, and then they get frozen very fast. And that's the only preservative that the preservation method that we have, and it preserves the pizza. It has over 1 year life, it's shelf life. So we don't have to add any additive or preservative or chemicals for that. So this makes it a very clean pizza. When you read the ingredients, you don't see anything that you cannot recognize. It's very clean.
Wow, well, that's great. Unfortunately, we come to our ending of our show. We really appreciate it. We're going to have you back on again because we want to see how this product has scaled. So maybe 6 months out, a year, maybe a year and a half, depending on how quickly it grows. I want to have you back on the show just to show people how you've made it and if you've gone into any other products besides pizza. Alex said he doesn't like Italian food, so I don't know why, but anyway. And Jed,
there's no one who doesn't like Italian food.
Yeah,
so
and Jed said her kids and hubby don't want it either, so whatever. Anyway, you're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Till next week, over and out. Thank you very much, Victor. Thank you very much, Alex, and thank you especially to our engineer.